Welcome to our February 16th council meeting. Will you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Matt, will you start us off with a roll call, please?
Councilor Hickerson. West.
Here.
Batolo. Halter.
Here.
Zadi.
Here.
Demus.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
Savage.
Here.
Maricomo.
Here, councilors, first order of business would be for the approval of the minutes from the city council meeting held February 2nd, 2021. What's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West?
move to approve the minutes from February 2nd, 2021.
We do have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this is going to bring us on to the appointments. Mr. President, members of the council, I submit to you the name of Ryan Richardson to fill the unexpired term on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Hey, council, you have before you the name Ryan Richardson to fill an unexpired term for P&Z Commission. Can I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. President.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilor West.
Yes.
Batolo.
Yes.
Halter.
Yes.
Zadi.
Yes.
Demus.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Hickerson.
Yes.
Mayor, you have your appointment.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Mr. President, I submit to you the name of Matt McBurnett to fill the unexpired term on the Rock Springs Sweetwater County Airport.
Hey, council, you have before you the name Matt McBurnett to fill the unexpired term at the Rock Springs Sweetwater County Airport Board. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilor Batolo.
Yes.
Halter.
Yes.
Zadi.
Yes.
Demus.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
Hickerson.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Mayor, you have your appointment.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council, and congratulations, Matt. There were no votes, so that's
I was on
good.
the line.
This is going to bring us to our presentations and proclamations, and item number one we have is the Rock Springs Urban Renewal Agency 2020 Annual Report. I'm going to turn that over to you at the URA.
Do you mind if I pull this down? Is that okay?
I do not. If you're not within 6 feet, you're right. 6.2 feet, you're good. Yeah.
All righty. So my name is Maria Mortensen, and I am the board chair for the Rock Springs Main Street Urban Renewal Agency. And I'm here tonight to present to you our 2020 annual report. Sue is making sure that you all have a copy of that. Like everyone, we faced a lot of challenges this year due to COVID. However, we still saw the opening of 10 new businesses downtown this past year. J&M Auto Sports, Huckers, New York Life, Modern Massage, Studio Design Floral, Save the Date Floral and Wedding Studio, Zubex, Society Insurance Network, Casey, is it Kuckert? I'm not sure how you pronounce her name. Insurance, Rebel and Roots Boutique, and Elevate Your Health Vibe. These businesses resulted in 5.5 net new full-time jobs in downtown, and we are now home to, let me double check, where'd Chad go, 825 now? Yep, 825 jobs in the downtown district. 2 of the new businesses started as a result of attending a business coaching workshop we hosted last spring, which is awesome, as well as a result of one of them was a result of our Project Pop-Up. One of our foremost goals is to expand the business base in downtown Rock Springs and grow the retail mix. To that end, we introduced a new program in 2020 called Project Pop-Up. We took applications from people who wanted to have a temporary storefront downtown during the holiday season. in the hopes that it would end up being a long-term business. It gave one entrepreneur an opportunity to start a pop-up for the holiday season with a minimal investment, with the goal of long-term occupancy. The URA funded 3 months of rent for the business. Our recipient this year was Becca Smith with Rebel and Roots Boutique. She began at the Main Street Market offering boho-style women's clothing. She says it was a blessing to have Project pop up. I don't know if I would have had the courage to start the small business without it. She signed another 3-month lease to continue on her own after the holidays and brought on a partner to help rent share. We wish her the best in continuing. She's got a really awesome shop. If you haven't been down there, I really encourage you to go. As mentioned, COVID certainly affected our merchants. To that end, we worked hard to help them keep their doors open and help customers feel comfortable coming downtown. I know we're about 11 months out, but, for a while it was really scary for people to, get out, go downtown, interact with other people. We worked with RSNB to host a virtual SBA loan application for merchants. We walked them through the grant application line by line and answered questions about the process. The Main Street Urban Renewal Agency staff became COVID-19 awareness certified. We conducted public surveys about retail, restaurants, events, and entertainment. And we developed a variety of promotions designed to drive sales to our local merchants, including the Curbside Challenge, gift card promotions, supporting local bingo, personal shopping promotions, a community-wide restaurant checklist that listed every restaurant in Rock Springs, not just the downtown ones, but every restaurant, recognizing that even your chain restaurants like McDonald's are owned by local people, and we wanted to support them through this as well. And we encouraged folks to get out of their routine and try new places. We also did a virtual Christmas shopping, which resulted in reaching over 18,000 people. One shopper commented, quote, "Thanks to your info video, I went to Rebel and Roots Boutique and went on a $92 shopping spree. Have not been going many places, but that was fun. Back on a budget now, so stop tempting me. I had peeked in her window so many times while walking out, but did not expect such reasonable prices." So that was really a nice comment, from a shopper. Last year, we were selected as a pilot community for a program from the Wyoming Arts Alliance. So we continued one of our focuses on public arts as well. We raised private funds to replicate the disarming mural destroyed in the First Security Bank restoration. That's the one that Rose Klein did a couple of years ago, depicting the Chinese massacre, and Lao Ase, I believe is how you say his name. That will be replaced this spring. It's been photographed and it's going to be put on a banner and displayed in a different location downtown. We're working with Rocky Mountain Power, Dominion Energy, and Greens Welding. We installed Piece 1, the sculpture formerly located near the Chamber of Commerce. It was repainted and is now located at the corner of M and North Front Streets. We launched a monthly art stroll called Second Saturdays, and we had several successful events there. A third round of new artwork was hung in the Art Underground Gallery, now showcasing 3 new local art pieces. We contracted with 3 local artists to dress up utility boxes around downtown via our Creative Cover-Ups program. And we developed a free mobile app for the historic downtown walking tour. Many of our projects and programs continue to be supported through various grants. In 2020, we received 10 grants. It seems like a long time ago, but it was last January when the $3 million grant from Wyoming Business Council was approved. Our other grants included the State Historic Preservation Office grant for the First Security Bank building, which is really awesome to see that moving along. The Wyoming Main Street gave us a grant for the Grow Wall. The National Main Street National Park Service Main Street Facade Improvement Grant Program, which will put $46,000 towards facades in downtown Rock Springs. Wyoming Main Street gave us a placemaking grant. Wyoming Arts Council gave us money for the Broadway Theater for our seasonal events. Endurance Fund grant for COVID-related funding. Dominion Energy also gave us a grant to help with the disarming mural. Wyoming Cultural Trust Fund gave us money to do the Brown Bag Concert Series, which went off pretty nicely again this last year. It was outside Even though Bank Court was not available, we moved it to behind the Health and Human Services building. And it was a little closer to the train, so it was a little more noisy than, usual, but it went really well. And the Rocky Mountain Power Foundation also gave us money for Broadway Theater seasonal events. And finally, there are a few other elements we're particularly proud of. The Mayor's Downtown Challenge. Mayor Como invited locals and visitors to take a pledge to support local businesses at least 5 times during the holiday season by purchasing gifts, dining, or participating in holiday events in downtown Rock Springs. And I want to offer you an example of how easy that is to do. I was heading here and I realized I left my bottle of water at home. So I was tempted to stop at the Loaf and Jug on top of College Hill. And I thought, no, I'm going to go down and I'm either going to go to Sidekicks and see if they have one or to the Little Mexican grocery store. Stopped at the Little Mexican grocery store and bought a bottle of water there. So it's really about just putting, changing your mindset of stopping where you're used to stopping and just making it. And it was a heck of a lot cheaper down here than it would have been at the convenience store. So just a little food for thought there. Restaurant Week. Although it was delayed due to COVID, we hosted it again last fall to promote our restaurant scene. We redesigned our website and created a website specifically for the Broadway Theater, BroadwayRS.com. The new website has a blog feature we've used extensively over the past year. In recognition of Pride Month, a special blog post was created to showcase our welcoming nature to members of the LGBTQ+ community. Working with Sweetwater County Master Gardeners, we installed a grow wall which features a vertical hydroponic garden. It got pretty beat up by the wind, so that thing struggled to survive, but I think next year will be great. The Master Gardeners also helped us plant all the flowers that we did downtown in all the planters that we have, and they did a really beautiful job with that. We were once again accredited by the National Main Street Program. Our volunteers contributed 1,371 hours to assist our community, which is huge in a year that we didn't have any events. That we still had people getting out there and doing things for downtown was really awesome. $169,025 in private funds were invested downtown, with 17 private buildings enhanced and restored. So all in all, even though 2020 was a year unlike anything else, we had a lot happening downtown. Any questions on the report that you guys might have?
Counselors? Well, I would say with the crazy 2020 that we had, you folks have been still pretty busy. So that's exciting. Hopefully this next year is going to bring us even more prosperity and positive changes to our downtown.
We're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
One more thing really quickly, I just wanted to let you guys know. We're gonna, tomorrow night we'll present our annual Downtown First Awards. Due to COVID, it'll be virtual and hosted live on our Facebook page at 7 p.m. We'd invite you to log on to see who the winners are and to offer your support and congratulations to them. That, each of the winners will receive one of these.
Wow.
Oh, Deborah Soule. So this is one of her pieces, and then they'll have their engraved plate on there and which award that they're winning. So please tune in, and it'll probably take Chad whopping 5 minutes because there won't be, any of the normal, but we'd love to have you guys join us.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Maria.
Well done. Appreciate the work you folks do, and we'll continue to promote our downtown.
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Good job. Thanks for your report. Item number 2, counselors, we were honored and blessed to have Joyce Corcoran here with us to speak to us about St. Christopher's Highway. Welcome.
Thank you. Oh, it's so fun to be here. I haven't seen you guys for a long time, it seems like. And there's some new people on the council that I don't know, and that seems weird. But a lot of the staff is still the same, my buddy Paul and Matt, Dwayne. Well, everybody says, where have you been? What have you been doing? And I'm getting older. That's the main thing I'm doing is getting older. And the COVID has kept me pretty much close to home this past year because I surely didn't want to get sick. But now that I've had my shots, I'm feeling more able to be out and about with everybody. What have I been doing? Well, you have before you that little packet that I gave you, St. Christopher's Highway. That's what I've been doing. I never dreamt that in my 80s I'd be a social worker, but that's what I've become. We have a phone number that people can call, and by people I mean the police department, the highway patrol, the sheriff's department, the Green River Police Department, Family Resources, the convenience stores, Flying J, crazy, we've got the brochure out everywhere, and people know about us now, and we're really busy. So how did this all come about? Well, my church, the Holy Communion Episcopal Church, is behind it, but there's other churches that have joined with us, and we're working together, the Mount of Olives Lutheran and the UCC Church up on the hill. And we have volunteers I'm the coordinator, and I have volunteers who spell me, which is wonderful, and hoping we're gonna get more volunteers, and I'm hoping to put a plug in with you guys if you know anybody that would be interested in helping with this program. It's an awesome program. But it is a program that you really totally get involved in, and so you need to be aware. You need to be aware of that. So what happens? Well, a police officer will call me and say, I have this person that I need to take to the motel because their car broke down or they were in a wreck or something like that. And I'd call Motel 8 and tell them to put this person up. We are doing everything by phone this past year, instead of the personal contact that we had in 2019. But that was for our own safety and for the safety of the people we're serving. Anyhow, whatever they need, I find out what their story is, where they're from, where they're going, where they want to go, what's going on in their life. And the stories are just incredible. I can't even begin to tell you how much I have realized how many people live on the edge in our society. It's totally amazing to me that people can take off on a trip across the country with bad tires, a car that's really old, no money, no credit card, no way of really getting anything, and probably have a cell phone. That's the main thing they have with them. And it's just totally bizarre to think that we live in that kind of a world, but it happens. So the way we got started is the church recognized the need, because we were getting people all the time at the church that needed help. And most churches have a fund that they do help people, but travelers, when they need help, are a lot different than the people who live in Rock Springs that need help. Their needs are even greater. So we ask, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the Episcopal Diocese of Wyoming was beneficiaries of a major donation through an estate of a gentleman who saw fit to fund us. So we have a foundation and we have a lot of money. and so money hasn't really been a serious issue for us, except we're spending it like crazy. We've got an initial grant of $5,000, then we got $50,000, and now we're going for another $50,000. And we were lucky that last couple of weeks ago we went to the county commission, and from the COVID money we got $31,000. And money isn't so much the issue as it is needing more help. I hate to admit it, but I'm getting old and I can't do it by myself all the time. and I need people to volunteer to help keep it going. And it's an amazing job to do, because you get so involved in people, even if you are just doing it by phone. I'd like to tell you a story about a young woman, and this is, we get a lot of people involved besides us in the situation, and this one particular woman fled from a husband who was threatening to kill she and her 4 children. So she left home in Seattle, and she got to Idaho, and she changed vehicles and got a camper, and I swear sometimes I think God puts people to Rock Springs because they know we're here, because this girl got to Rock Springs with that camper and it broke down. There's nothing we could do about the camper. It was way too expensive to fix it for our budget anyhow. So we put her need was great, and I had her in the motel for a while and helping her with food money and everything. But I realized that she was really scared, you know, and I would have recognized it sooner if I'd been making personal contact. But I finally did make personal contact, and I could tell that this situation was dire. So the YWCA admitted her to the safe house with her 4 kids and 2 dogs. And that partnership has worked really well over the past 2 years with the YWCA. Anyhow, what we're looking for is more partners, more people to be involved. The need is so great. And I really am not asking anything from you guys exactly, except to tell you that I want you to be aware of what we're doing, because it's an important role in our community. I never realized it was going to turn into something so rewarding for me, but it certainly has. Do you have any questions?
First off, Joyce, and maybe more so Councilman Robinson, how is this different from the Resource Center? Is it one and the same?
Family Resource Center is one of our partners too.
So
we work together.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my
They
question.
don't really help travelers as much as we do. They help people in Rock Springs with housing and what have you, but they have helped us with housing too for some of these people that are that
Gotcha.
we end up keeping longer than what we need to,
Longer term, correct.
more longer term.
That
work
answers my
together.
question. All right. Glad to see that you're working together. Councilman, questions? Suggestions?
Your Honor,
Councilman Savage?
this is more of a program to help somebody get their car fixed. You have a mechanic that helps with that. Does a discount work? And it's just to help people get out of Rock Springs. It can also be people that have just been released from the jail and they don't have any money or any way to get out of Rock Springs and they don't want to stay here, that kind of thing. But
That's
it's also
one of our big partnerships is with the jail. We send a cab out to pick them up if they're not locals and don't have a place to stay and don't have a way to get home. We've sent people back home to California, all over the place. We buy bus tickets. We've even bought airfare for people. It just depends. Every person is a different story and a different need.
but
And
yeah,
Tim's right. That partnership with the jail has been a good one.
yeah. But
That sounds like an
what
important
tugged at
role.
my heart was the domestic violence cases.
Yeah.
Just imagining people trying to get from West Coast to the East Coast or something like that, and
Right.
they end up in Rock Springs. So it's nice to give them a little hand.
In January, February at 10 below zero with little help. But yes, that's extremely important because from what I understand, I'm not familiar with that. Maybe some of the councilmen are, but when you're released from jail, you don't get a ride. You're kind of on your own if you don't
You're
have
on
a
your
ride.
feet.
You see people walking down the highway all the time, but could
It's
I
a
that
walk
be?
one-way
up to the
ride.
truck stop and then pray somebody
You
will
do?
give them a ride.
I'm sorry, it's just a one-way ride. To
It's just one way. There you go. You get a ride there. You just don't get a ride back.
But anyhow, I just wanted to tell you that that's what I've been doing, and it's been the most rewarding thing I've done in a long time. And thank you for hearing our story, and I hope we can be partners too some way. I already partners with Dwayne and his crew. They're wonderful to work with, and so is the Sheriff's Department. But
Well, Joyce, we thank you for coming and bringing this information to us, and
You're welcome.
appreciate the work that you guys do, and kind of an issue that many aren't aware of, but a vital link in taking care of people that may be stranded and need some assistance. So we will take the information and see where we can help you.
Yep. And if you know anybody who would like to volunteer, give them a heads up.
We will do that. Thanks, Joyce. Okay, councilors, this is going to move us on to our public hearing section on our agenda. And item number 1 under your public hearings has been withdrawn. So there will be no public hearing on that. Item number 2 is a public hearing on the applications for renewal of microbrewery, winery, restaurant, retail, limited bar and grill, and resort liquor licenses for the period of April 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2022, of which we'll take action under new business item number 2. Is there anyone here tonight wishing to speak on this public hearing? Hearing none. Oh, you are? Oh, I'm just getting to petitions. If you, we're going to open up petitions right now. If there's anyone wishing to address the council on any issue, come on down, state your name for the record, and the microphone is yours. Oh, she's just out in the lobby. Oh, gotcha. You got her already.
Mayor Comer, councilors, I'm Matthew Jackman, Vice President of Jackman Construction. I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about your favorite project, that Bitter Creek Restoration Project.
Nice.
I know. Recently, Jackman Construction found out we were not pre-qualified to bid on the project, and I was pretty disappointed to find out. I felt like we met all the qualifications. There was things like sheet piling, utilities, earthwork. The only qualification we didn't meet was all of those things had to take place in the last 5 years. And I'm going to give you some examples of the qualifications. Let's see. There was 3 projects as a general contractor, which we met in the first year. There was a $3 million minimum for one of the projects, which I don't think the city of Rock Springs has issued a $3 million earthwork project in the last 5 years. One involving sheet piling, one involving utility installation, pretty standard. There was 3 river rehab projects required in the last 5 years. I would consider it a bit of a stretch to call the Bitter Creek a river. One of those involved, you had to have at least 2,500 feet of channel restoration. Those are all things we've done in the past. We had 2 projects involving trails with landscaping and pedestrian bridges. I think a lot of you have been to Green River at one point in your life. We completely did the landscaping for the Riverwalk project. That was listed in my pre-qualification packet. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the last 5 years, and that's where it's really frustrating for me. It's tough to not get pre-qualified when I look at the city of Rock Springs, which often preaches spend at home, support your local businesses, yet the qualifications you guys set forth weren't projects that a local business could handle or do because we haven't had the opportunity. You know, it's tough. It's tough to be met with the same qualifications that I don't know if your staff has met those same qualifications. I don't know if your staff has built 2 pedestrian bridges in the last 5 years. I don't know if your staff has done 3 riverbed projects with one totaling 2,500 feet in the last 5 years. I think they have, I'm not sure. But subject your local businesses to those same standards that I don't think your staff can meet is pretty tough. You know, we submitted 2, maybe even 3 letters of recommendation. Our bonding company was fully supportive of us bidding any project. The state of Wyoming, WYDOT, was supportive of us bidding any project. And I guess I just still don't understand why this is an issue. You know, yeah, we didn't meet the last 5 years, but how many of you have tried to buy a house in the last 5 years or recently? And what if they said, well, you haven't bought one in the last 5 years, you can't buy one now? What if, how many of you applied for a new job in the last 5 years? Which is what we just did with the city of Rock Springs. Well, you haven't applied for a new job in the last 5 years, so you can't apply for this one. And that's where it gets tough with this pre-qualification stuff, especially when the state of Wyoming, which issues, I don't know, $500 million worth of projects every year, says, yeah, you can handle the project. When your bonding company, which deals with thousands of contractors, says, yeah, you can handle the project. At the end of the day, I would petition you guys to kind of practice what you preach. If you want to bid a local project and you guys want to support local businesses, your local businesses need to be part of these projects. If you're going to qualify us and make us meet all these standards, I think your staff should have to meet these standards. The same thing. Thank you. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Councilman Zadi.
Hate these things. I feel, I understand what you're saying, and it frustrates me, because I look around the state, and the more I do, with the organization I'm part of, 307 First, where we look at and support Wyoming business and buy local, support local. It really came from supporting contractors when we saw millions of dollars leaving the state to build schools. You see things like it was a courthouse in Converse County, I believe.
Was that the one that Ryman built?
Ryman built it,
And they
but
weren't
they
pre-qualified
didn't
to
qualify
remodel
to
it?
do the remodel. It's like,
Yeah.
what the heck are we doing? Because they didn't do 5 courthouses in the last 10 years or something like that. No contractor in Wyoming is going to do that. I think in some of these pre-qualifications, we're setting the bar to where we're not going to get local contractors doing the work. An instance in Jackson, they did a $22 million remodel for the rec center and expansion. 2 locally Wyoming-owned contractors, lowest bid there for project manager and owner's representative, I believe. But they went with the higher bid with 2 out-of-state contractors because they had more experience building rec centers. The other contractors that were lower have built multi-million-dollar resorts, and they didn't qualify. I mean, it's just bizarre to me what we're doing. So we do need to do a better job in what we're doing in pre-qualifying and selecting, or what we're going to find ourselves is out of Wyoming contractors that can do any work. I know Senate File 006, and that's one thing I was wanting to talk to Clark about when he came in for the legislative update, is where we were with that and where things are standing. Because I know, and I do believe that does try to address some of these issues as far as restrictive pre-qualification standards that we're seeing that aren't allowing for Wyoming contractors to really win the bids or do the work in our state. And it just gets completely frustrating to me. So I just support what you're saying. Yes, long story short.
Yeah. You know, and just an example for cost to the city, I think there was a project recently that was pre-qualified, and I want to say there was only one contractor pre-qualified. The engineer's estimate originally was about $2.5 million, and the final bid price was $4.7 million for the project. And that's just an example of what can happen. You're paying a lot more for less, or for somebody out of town, somebody that's not going to buy trucks or serve on your boards or donate property for you guys. So.
Well, not only that, but, you know, the local businesses that continue to support other items that we appreciate all too commonly, you know, youth sports activities, things like that. It is frustrating, and I think we need to have that conversation because money's tight as it is, and to send jobs outside of our communities is really frustrating. And yes, there has to be some criteria, but I think that conversation is something that needs to continue. And I think Senate File 6 is I mean, it's been started, and I'd like to hear more of where that is. But I don't disagree with what you're saying, Matt. And we'll be interested in following Senate File 6 to see where it ends up here.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep going on it, but it's tough because that doesn't help us now for this
Right.
project.
Yeah.
And it's probably too late. I mean, you got to get this thing out for bid. You want otherwise we know the state and that money tends to disappear. But
Well, the project's been kind of a crap show from the beginning, so.
Yeah, it's gotta get
we're-
out, and,
We're definitely understand where you're at, and we're behind the 8 ball. We got out of the gate late with the fiasco from the get-go, so.
So where are we with the bidding then? It's just pre-qualification right now? There hasn't been bids submitted at this point?
based on the timeline given, I'm Paul, one more, but it sounds like the project will be bid and awarded in the month of March.
March, okay. Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
where we were there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, councilors. I appreciate your time.
appreciate it. Anybody else? Questions? Councilman West?
Did we
Matt?
have any local contractors that pre-qualified, Paul?
Your Honor, Counselor West, yes, there were.
That's all I had.
Okay. Thanks, Matt, for your comments. Still under petitions, anyone else wishing to address the council on any issue? This is your time. Okay, I'm gonna close the petitions. We're gonna move on to officers and staff reports. Councilors, we have item number 1, the health insurance fund recap for January 2021. 2, the financial report summary for January 2021. 3, the Rock Springs Renewal Fund financial statements for November and December 2021 or 20. And 4, the acknowledgement of receipt of financial disclosure statements. Councilors, I'd entertain a motion to approve the officers and staff reports in place on file.
Your Honor.
Councilman Batolo,
So moved.
we do have a motion. Do we have a second? Second's been called. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, councilors, we're going to move on to the council committee and board reports, and we have one, item number 1, beautification and tree board meeting minutes of January 11th. 2, the Rock Springs Historical Museum Board meeting minutes of January 13th. And 3, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting minutes of January 14th, 2021. Item number 4, and just hold that thought for a while, that we are honored and would like to welcome Senator John Kolb, Representatives Clark Stiff and Chad Banks to give us a legislative update and maybe answer a few questions that we may have, and maybe a combination of guidance from our legislators to the governing body or vice versa. So I'm just going to open this up right now, Senator and Representatives. If you want to start with some opening remarks of where you feel we are at this point, any suggestions, and we can just at that point go from there. It's going to be a little sketchy. You might have to share the microphone at this point, but you could definitely all chime in, but you will have to be at the microphone to speak if you would. Representative Stiff.
Great, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Clark Stiff, House District 48. We'll try to make this so it doesn't last too long or wear out your patience. Mayor, members of the council, thank you. So as you know, the legislature will reconvene in person on March 1st for about a month until April the 2nd. So what's coming up are the real work of the legislature. The budget bill is the big one coming up. School K through 12 recalibration is also on the agenda. That's the other big topic. Councilor Zadi had sent out an email listing some bills that may be of particular interest to the council. House Bill 50 we spoke about that a month or so ago. That relates to how much the distribution from the state to the locals, counties, and towns is. In the last several years, it's been $105 million per biennium, and the proposal is to reduce it either to $99 million or to $94 million. The hit to the cities, counties, and towns, because all of this will take place effective July 1 in the second year of the biennium, the $99 million would be a 5% cut, but that would feel like a 10% cut because it would all happen in the second year. If it gets cut to $94 million, then that's a gross 10%, but it would feel like 20% because it's all happening in the second year of the biennium. It was my understanding that there was consensus that the cut would be a 5% gross cut to $99 million. Apparently the Senate and Senator Kolb can inform you more. The Senate's rethinking that. They may want to go for the more drastic cut to $94.5 million. And I don't really have a prediction about where that will land. To what it means to Rock Springs, I believe that you get about of that $105 million, about $1.3 million comes to the city of Rock Springs per year, I believe, if I understand that correctly. So it's either 10% or 20% of that in the second year is what you're looking at. And so what's useful to us and would be useful to us, and I appreciate the information from Matt McBurnett. In talking about this in the legislature, what's useful to me is to be able to know what other cuts or what other revenue declines you're experiencing, because then that gives us some ammunition to say, well, it's not just a $5 million cut, or it's not just a 10% cut to this particular line item, but you're suffering other revenue declines. And so that kind of information would be, from my point of view, would be useful. That's my take on it. If I just had to guess, well, I'm thinking it's going to be the 5% gross cut, which will feel like 10%. On Senate File 6, I think you've just discussed. Senator Kolb can inform you on that. Senate File 6 about pre-qualification was a bill that I championed in the Judiciary Committee this last year. It's a committee bill, but it's now on the Senate side, so Senator Kolb can tell you about that. I think they tabled it at their last meeting for some procedural reason. I don't think it's dead, but it's on life support, perhaps. We'll see. Essentially now the Wyoming, to let you know, you may already know this, the Wyoming Association of Municipalities has come out against Senate File 6 because they see it as an encroachment upon the authority of municipalities to set pre-qualification requirements for contractors. That's the view of WHAM. I take a different view on it. What the bill basically says is that if you are pre-qualified and good enough for the Wyoming Department of Transportation for horizontal construction, then you're good enough for a municipality. That's essentially what it says. With respect to vertical construction, like building a building, then WYDOT doesn't have, WYDOT is not in the business of building buildings. So the State Construction Department would be tasked with coming up with pre-qualification requirements, and if passed, Senate File 6 would say that if you're good enough for the State Construction Department, then you're good enough to build vertically for a local government. That's essentially what the bill does, with some exceptions and details. I am optimistic that some version of that will pass. Something that was not on your list, but I do want to alert you to, I mentioned it to the mayor briefly, informally, the Abandoned Mine Lands Division of the Department of Environmental Quality, which is this agency that has a lot of money, relatively speaking, and it gets to spend it on mine reclamation. It will get a new director. So that new director starts March 3rd, and so I've asked with our scheduling person that we be allowed to somehow have an in-person meeting with them or get on Zoom, talk with them. I think there's an opportunity potentially for the city of Rock Springs and our local delegation to meet with the new director, frankly, before his mind gets poisoned by his staff with respect to the eligibility of the Bitter Creek for AML funds. Because as you know, over the past decade, the former director of AML took the position that the Bitter Creek renovation project was simply not eligible for AML funds. The position was taken that, in their view, in the prior director's view, the Bitter Creek was never harmed or adversely affected at any time before 1974 by coal mining in Rock Springs. So
Which was totally bizarre. The study proved that, but I did speak with Mr. Kasich about that, and we do intend to
so we can
schedule.
coordinate, and I was trying to set up a meeting before March 1st, but apparently March 3rd is the new director's first day at work. So
Yeah,
we'll work on that to get something done
we will.
With that, I'll turn over the microphone to whoever else wants to speak. We can talk a long time about budget things, but those are kind of the things that are at the forefront of my mind.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I was thinking, well, maybe we could do this a little bit different, possibly. If we talk about a bill, maybe all of us can talk about it, because it's all going to be kind of like a rerun over what we just had spoke about, and probably everybody has a different perspective on what they know about a particular bill, or maybe they're on a different committee. So it might behoove us to kind of stick to maybe one bill, and maybe we all hash it out, but it's up to the mayor and council. I just wanted to make this kind of efficient and maybe get the information out without having to reiterate a bunch of things. So kind of up to you, Mr. Mayor, what you'd like to do. But I can go through a few of these if you'd like. I don't have them the same order Clark has, of course, but, you know, on the Senate side, I guess I'll start off by saying that any of the councilmen or mayor or anybody, a constituent of Senate District 12 is my district, you give me a call. If you need to speak to me, I'm on the floor. My number is 307-389. Just text me. I can't speak, of course, when I'm in the middle of what's going on, but I can certainly look at a text message, and it will help me out immensely to hear directly from you on what you have issues with or not issues with while some bill's being discussed, because it's happening so fast out there that there really isn't any time. The session's been accelerated to kind of explain it a little bit, which means we don't do things in the normal fashion like it's usually a day between readings. They've accelerated it, so it is literally same day. You'll hear 2 readings. So literally, I might find out what's coming up on a bill because they will tell you which bill they're going to bring up in a certain order, the floor leader will, and sometimes we don't know. And so I'm literally reading a 37-page bill as it's been brought up, because there is no, in fact, hard and fast order a lot of times. And it happens twice in a day sometimes. So it's real hectic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I need to hear from you. You folks really encompass the entirety of Senate District 12. I mean, it's probably 95% of the population is, in fact, the city of Rock Springs. I mean, there's a lot of sagebrush out there and a lot of good folks that live out in the more rural areas, but really it's the city of Rock Springs. So just as a big swipe at it, please contact me if there's anything.
I would think that that type of urgency and the process that's being implemented in that fashion is irresponsible in not allowing our legislators time to digest and get information, especially from their constituency, because you're exactly right. I know how that goes. You may have 2 readings in one day. I mean, decisions are being made on the floor like that. If you don't catch it in that particular time, which was my biggest fear going into this session in a virtual setting, is trying to lobby and get the information out to you guys. I mean, it's just almost impossible to hit it at the right time and catch it.
Well, Mr. Mayor and Council, they tried to bring forth bills in the first round that were what they'd call less controversial. You know, the much more difficult ones, the more emotional ones are coming. They thought these bills that first came up were going to be less of an issue, and I can assure you the bill that came up about the unlimited amount of malt beverage licenses in the county and wiping it out in that 5-mile buffer was an issue for me, because I had a question of what you folks were thinking, and I was communicating with Councilman Zadi directly, trying to get information while I'm sitting there, like, what do you want me to do? And, you know, I still feel like that was a mistake, and I've got my reasons for why I feel that was inappropriate, because there's a lot of things. It's a complicated bill, and on the face of it, it doesn't really look that bad. But I started to read it, and, you know, that's water under the bridge right now. And I you know, I guess I learned my lesson. I'll tell you, I'll never try to put an amendment on 3rd reading again for the new guy. That was a mistake. But we tried to head it off and deal with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But information is super important to me. So it would be very helpful if we could always keep those lines of communication open. Clark mentioned Senate File 6. That got referred to Judiciary, and I am on Judiciary. I'm one of the 5 members on that board committee. And we will see it again. The issue was there were some carve-outs that weren't specifically addressed in there. One of them was with the airport, for instance. There was other things that had to be complied with that wouldn't work with that bill the way it was written. I think the intent is good. I think it tries to address a problem. It, however, is a complex issue on trying to level the playing field, if you want to call it that. when it comes to projects and bid pre-qualifications. But it's referred back to judiciary. It will be talked about again. There was frankly so many amendments that were talked about during the judiciary meeting that it was decided just to table it. We tabled it to talk about it further in March when we were going to be there live. If that is any clarity, I mean, if you want to talk more about that, the bill's it's trying to solve a lot of issues, and I do appreciate what Representative Stith is trying to accomplish, but it's, as we all know, it's difficult to get it right when you're trying to do a new thing.
Senator, what's your take on House Bill 50 from the Senate side?
Well,
Go ahead.
I can certainly talk about it with more certainty. The Senate is of the opinion that it's a 10% cut over the biennium, which is a 20% cut in the one-year distribution. The real issue is this. I mean, frankly, the fund is going to be exhausted. So there will be no distribution money. I got it written. Hang on, if you indulge me a second. In 2025 to 2026, there is zero money in the LISR account. And there's a reason for this, is because they put in a statutory fail-safe with that fund. When the fund falls below $500 million, all the money goes to K through 12. So it'll be totally exhausted. I think there's going to be a lot more severe cut in the next biennium, you know, because we're heading towards zero. The amount of money that will be in that said fund. So I like to think of it like this. Even if we were like 20, 30% wrong on our projections, we're still broke.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I think one of the biggest concerns, and I brought it up to the entire group several times, the exemptions that we have on sales tax is ridiculous. And you know, has that long list of exemptions been thoroughly reviewed? I mean, it's not a new tax, and I understand, and we all know how several of our legislators, including you, Senator, are not interested in considering any new tax. But in my opinion, an exemption from certain individuals or entities from a sales tax is not a new tax. They were there at one time. Take the food tax. What's the answer to that? Is there any consideration whatsoever of taking a look at the exemption list and bringing some of those folks back into the fold? I mean, we can't just continue to cut ourselves out of this. We have to look at both sides. We need to watch what we're doing and make cuts where it makes sense. But we also have to look at how we're going to increase our revenue side, which we all know is true. And one way to do that, I believe, is to remove some of these exemptions on sales tax.
Well, as I was a county commissioner, the sales tax issue was probably the most known fact, that when the legislators changed the food tax, that we were never made whole. That's cities, towns, and counties, all of us. And I can tell you, and I can't recall the bill or exactly what, you know, the legislation, but the talk is to somehow come up with a plan to make the exemptions go away. In other words, get rid of the exemptions, and that could be for wind. It could be for a lot of things. And as it's not it's an exemption and not a quote unquote, new tax. It's an exemption. There's one for the railroad rolling stock that, it may have an effect in Evanston. So yes, the conversation is what the heck are we going to do? I think we can't leave our cities, towns, and counties twisting in the breeze without giving a mechanism to backfill revenue. And on that same note, that would be there's a statute that was changed last year that allows the cities to, in fact, raise their sales tax by a vote of the people. And I'm all for that. You know, if the folks want to tax themselves and they feel like that's the right thing to do, then that's what I'll support. But that'll be up to the voters.
So if you hold that thought a minute, of course, we are all, interested in consider the 6-penny tax, but let's talk about the 7-penny tax, which I don't believe any place in the state has done this. But the earliest we could do this, from what I gather, is 2024 at the general election. So it would be 2025 before we would see any revenue generated from there. But it's my opinion, and you have to look at this, and I know I've had several legislators request, hey, go back and take advantage of the tools we've given you to raise your taxes other than coming down here and begging for money. So you have to take a look at the 6-penny tax, especially in the economy right now, and then the 7th penny tax. And it would have to be, we would have to implement the 6-penny tax, bring it out to the voters, and within 90 days after that, then we could go after the 7th, win or lose, if we failed or we were successful. So you can imagine the work, and you've been a part of this before, the marketing and everything else that goes along with 6-penny tax, to go out, request a 6-penny tax, fail, and then immediately go after a 7th penny tax. You're basically destined for failure. And then if you were to be successful in the 6-penny tax, to immediately 90 days after and go after a 7th penny, you would immediately, I'm sure you would fail. Do you not think that's the case?
Well, Mayor and Council, that's probably your strategy that you folks need to develop. If you're asking me, yeah. I mean, I would try to get a penny. I think we have services that are going to be definitely affected by the reduction of revenue for everybody. And it's a question to the voters if they want to tax themselves or not. But I wouldn't talk about stacking them, nor would I personally do that. But that's up to you. I'm not the mayor. I'm not the council. I will say there is some that are taking the full amount of 7 cents in the state. I don't know which county it is, but it was talked about in the Senate, as there is some. And currently, you could, the statutes are currently written, you could go out for a special election for this tax, the way they're currently written. However, we're going to go into another set of legislation that is, in fact, going to take that away.
So the House Bill 12, which basically, for any bond election, removes our ability to have a special election or a primary election when requesting a bond election. That would go to a general election. And of course, that would not be good for the city of Rock Springs. As every community in Sweetwater County, as you well know, is very interested in pursuing the 6-penny tax.
So could I ask then, you're going to then talk to the Board of County Commissioners on paying for this special election, for this, the tax question that we're now talking about?
Well, my question in House Bill 12, do you feel that's going to pass? Because I do not support that.
Mayor and Council, I don't know. It hasn't come to the Senate side yet, this bill. I don't know. I think the issue that is going to come up is, frankly, the well-known fact that it's probably easier to get it passed during a special election, especially for like a bond, than it would be during a general election.
Right.
So I'm always going to favor the side of the voters, and if we get good turnout, I have no issue with it. The question is I wouldn't want the voters to feel like something was pulled on them, for lack of a better word. I think we have to be open and transparent because we are facing very difficult times, and I know you are and the state is both. And we're all trying to figure out a way to get forward and still deliver services.
Right. Well, just my opinion, House Bill 12 needs to fail. And the scary thing about House Bill 12 with the language in there is they nixed out the special or the primary elections and moved just towards the general. That language followed other bills where that same information came across. So even though if we were to be successful and kill it in House Bill 12, it still exists in other bills, and I have those listed. I'll email those to you. Councilors, I don't mean to be taking up all the time here.
When we're talking about going for the 6th and possibly the 7th, I think we kind of got it backwards with what we're facing, but that's something we'll have to discuss moving forward as a council and with the other entities. I think special purpose tax, it's good to have that and everything, but we've got other needs, and general fund is really kind of where we're going to be suffering quite a bit. To go for special purpose first, I think might be the wrong way to go, but that's my thoughts there. Because I do know as far as the legislature, you're gonna look and see what do you guys as a community tax yourselves? Do you utilize all those tools? And if you don't do it, then why should we give you more money? That's kind of.
Well, that's always been the, and believe me, as being the county commissioner for 8 years, and begging for money when I went over there was not a pleasant task. I didn't like it, nor did I appreciate it. But I think the rule of thought is you need to tax yourself locally as much as you can, and that shows the voters are in favor of that, of that service. And I think that's been their fallback position. I think the honest issue is the state's broke. I mean, like I said, if you're not going to believe it's, the reports are 10, 20, 30% wrong, we're still broke. That's the fact. And so that's what we're all facing. So I think we've got to kind of sell our services to the community and, whatever we're doing. And, for the tax, we're going to levy on them. And if they're in favor of it, then they're in favor of it. I'm just going to listen to the constituents, there's many taxes that people generally aren't in favor of. And I think maybe because they don't think it affects them. I mean, it may and may not, but people generally care about what affects them. And that's just how folks are.
Your Honor,
Councilman West?
can I make a quick comment on that? If you look back at the history of the specific purpose tax, the last 20 years, beginning since 2000, of just approved projects, when you talk about taxing ourselves, 178,970,000. There's been other attempts for projects within those years that failed, but that's just the approved amount of tax that essentially we have taxed ourselves here as a community. And I think that's a pretty remarkable number. So that might be something you want to take back.
I do appreciate that comment, Councilor West. You're very right. I mean, I'm well aware of the projects we have here. I think we're kind of maybe possibly mixing apples and oranges. We're talking about permanent funding, right, on one hand, and we have demonstrated, in particularly Sweetwater County, that we do tax ourselves for things that we get, for our projects, and we've done a lot with that, probably equal to any other part of the state that I'm aware of for how successful we've been. But I think right now we're talking about basic services. We all like to do some, good projects, and we have, and we should be commended for taxing ourselves. And I do try to sell that point whenever it comes up, but they seem to have I can just tell you the body. Frankly, I don't want to tell you I'm a new guy, but I am, and I'm trying to understand the body. And I can tell you that seems to be the sentiment on the Senate side. If I could jump off of here with Senate File 4, which is airport districts. It's been re-referred back to transportation because it had some issues that came up on the Senate, and it's referred back. I can tell you the issue I have with Senate File 4 is it's an appointed board by the Board of County Commissioners, which has tax levying abilities. A 4% bond on the total evaluation of the district, which is an unknown size of the district. Let's just say it's $2 billion, is $80 million bond ability. They can tax us. And you have an appointed board doing that. And I can tell you there's a lot of pushback in the Senate over an appointed board. So if it makes it out of corporations, I will try to amend it to have an elected board. And there's others talk about the perpetuity of the district. Senator Scott mentioned that he was not in favor of having a board that existed in perpetuity. Maybe it'd have to go before the voters and have it reapproved in a certain time period. It'd probably be a fairly long time period, but it'd be a certain time period, so it wouldn't exist forever. That was one concern. But my main concern is the unknown size of the board, their evaluation that they'll be able to bond under, and then having a board that's not elected by the people. I think that's governance closest to the people is always best. So I think when you have taxing $1 billion on board, it's a special circumstance. It isn't like other circumstances where they don't have that ability for bonding. I think it's a good idea. I think we need to support our airport, and but I think we have to be careful and think about unforeseen consequences. I'll add, I've been appointed to YDOT as the YDOT liaison from the Senate. And also I've been appointed as the liaison for air transportation from the Senate. And there's 2 other boards that involved negotiation with airlines for contracts. So it basically revolves around YDOT. Aeronautics is within YDOT. So
Right.
we can get something on Route 80, I feel. I tried to lobby for this because I thought we have a huge chunk of 80 going through Sweetwater in this case. We have a lot of major connections here, 191s and such roads as that. And also we have a great airport. And I think it'd behoove us to have somebody on there that can at least have an ear or a seat at the table. So if that helps anybody on communications on what's going on legislatively. If you want to, I guess I'll leave it up to the council and mayor. If you want to talk about a specific bill, other bills, I'll just take them one at a time.
Senator, I had one other note with your connection there that I had sent an email to all of you on the 1st of February, quite lengthy. But one of the issues that the city of Rock Springs is feeling the pain from, of course, great project, bad timing, was our interchange road project. And that's cost us upwards of $5.6 million out of our budget. And I'm not quite sure, I did not get one response from the email that I sent. But my question was, would there be a possibility, we had a partnership with YDOT Urban Systems and the county, close to a $30 million project, but we had to come up with the $5.6 million. Would there be a possibility, and I believe from what I recollect that this had occurred in Cheyenne at one time, that we could pay that back in increments other than coming up with $6 million out of our budget that's already failing, and be out that money. So I didn't get a response, but that is still a very important question. As it's my opinion, we're going to be looking at heavier cuts than we saw last year, and $6 million would help. So,
Mr. Mayor and Council, I think we need to get together.
yeah,
I think we have to have if it makes you, I might not physically respond to an email, but I did read your email.
did you?
And
And I
it's
think
in its
what I was
entirety.
asking was, is there a way we could draft a bill or an agreement with YDOT, and YDOT's a larger entity than the city of Rock Springs, but I would like to know if there's a way that when we partake of these types of projects that we could maybe come up with a payment plan other than immediately pay for the project right off the bat.
To be clear, I don't know the answer. I will find out. I think if you'd give me some correspondence, or we can get together, have a meeting with YDOT, and hammer this out to find out just what we can and can't do.
Appreciate
I
that.
don't know the details.
Well, we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Senator.
Well, I look forward to,
Appreciate that.
I guess, figuring out what we can do and maybe improve that. Then if you had any, I know, Rob, you had given, Councilman Zadi, you had given me some possible statutes that you were looking at. Are any ones that you'd like to, I guess, ask a direct question about?
I was just to go down, just an update on Senate File 17 is for government public relations publication requirements. What are your feelings on that, and as far as where that
I
is?
think it's a go.
Is it?
In the Senate, I haven't heard anyone have any. They all understand. Even the people that own newspapers understand that
Yeah.
we're living in the year 2021.
Well, Senator, I read an interesting article in the Pinedale Roundup this morning from Bill Sniffen, and of course, he was not impressed with this idea. But this has been a long time coming. There were arguments when the newspaper was actually a daily event. So it's not just the issues with the cost of newspaper versus social media or a web page, which would be convenient. And by all means, we don't want to leave out, our senior citizens or those who might just want a paper. but we don't have a daily paper. And, yeah, that might not be, the golden goose by any means, but that comes to at a cost, between $25 and upwards of $45,000, depending on what takes place. But I think it provides an opportunity for individuals to be informed much quicker, in an easier fashion and less expense. So I support that.
Agreed. I don't have an issue with it. I haven't heard any pushback. We can probably broach the subject now with highway taxes. I can tell you, I don't know if it's going to be introduced on the floor of the Senate. And the only reason why it might be introduced, I hear tell us so people can vote it down. So that doesn't have much legs on it. I mean, I can't tell you how many negative emails I got about that, and I haven't seen it yet, to be honest with you.
Was that the House Bill 37?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
ma'am.
House Bill 37, I think, is a great idea, but it doesn't make sense to generate revenue and then turn around and the municipalities, government have to pay it back. I think there needs to be an exemption for county, city. I mean, if we have vehicles running on those roads, why does it make sense to generate the revenue and turn around and give it right back?
Mr. Mayor, that makes no sense. I mean, I think if it makes it on the floor and it becomes a live bill, I'll introduce an amendment to exclude cities, towns, and counties from getting taxed on, government. Taxing government's never a great idea in my experience.
And how about the fuel tax bill then? They're looking to increase that, wasn't it 9 cents? So I mean, we've got a road use bill that's being introduced, and now we're going to increase the fuel tax, and it just seems.
If it means anything to the mayor and council, there's a little lapel pin that they're wearing in the Senate, and it has a little Slayer on it, and it was because they didn't agree with any taxes one year. So it's not anything new for the Senate to be adversarial to taxes. I can tell you, mayor and council, that the thought is that we have to get our spending under control. And then the next thought is what do we got left? And maybe, that's going to entail another conversation about other revenue. But we can't get anywhere unless we get our expenses. And frankly, it's K through 12. K through 12 is
absolutely
is costing more than all other government. That's where it's going. And we've got to do something to try to live together and provide services, because frankly, you folks in education and county, it's an adversarial funding formula where there's only one pot of money and there's only so much of it. And I think we have to work together. I mean, that's the only way forward. So taxes first isn't the way to go. That's the sentiment in the Senate, and that's frankly my sentiment.
Well, and I think, Senator, you're correct. And in that same email, I sent you a long list of cuts that we here have made and we will continue to make. And you are aware that we're having discussions with all the other communities in Sweetwater County and the county commissioners on where we could possibly consolidate efforts, reduce costs. We're trying to do our part, but at the same time, we need to have your support in trying to generate some revenues. And like I said, I think the biggest two items to me that I see that would generate revenues is the exemptions on sales tax. That has to be taken a look at. And in my opinion, the second thing is these gaming royalties that are paid that we're receiving 1/2%. I mean, hey, I understand it's a business and they're doing well, but by all means, we do have to reap the repercussions of the impacts of those type of facility or games that take place in our community. Chief Pacheco can tell you, the people that go down there and blow their entire paycheck, can't pay their bills, they get into depression, they drink. We deal with all that. But 1/2%, I think we're missing the boat there.
I don't disagree. They had to do, they had a must-pass, frankly, bill this year because it was going to sunset the whole gambling situation with the skill games was going to sunset. There wasn't any opportunity that I could see to talk about distribution of those monies because we lost out, frankly, at the county fairgrounds with the horse racing and improving our facilities. And oddly enough, surprisingly, Casper gets an improvement. It's like, well, I wish the heck they'd have horse racing, you know, so, you know, that continues to be an issue about the money they're accumulating over there. And frankly, I think we're done for this year introducing any bills. I think the cutoff's right, I don't know, Clark would probably know more than I. Cutoff, Clark?
I expect there'll be a game.
Well, I think if we're all gonna understand that we're all in this together and we need to work together to make Wyoming a better place, we all have to understand that we should help each other out and share the impacts of we're all about business and want to support our local businesses, but to a certain extent, everybody has to pay their fair share of the impacts that go along with that. It's my opinion, and from what I understand, there's a new group coming up in the Sheridan area that's starting, or maybe has already started their own horse racing and gaming situation that's trying to pull that away from this area as well. I'm not quite sure, but I think we really need to keep an eye on that because I think we're missing the boat there.
Agreed. I look, you know, that's going to have to be, hopefully if we do have a bill coming up, it can be discussed and maybe we can make a positive change. The danger is always about losing funding to some other competitive group,
right.
And I think we know what group that is. You know, it's an issue. I'll keep an eye on it. These are things I need to, you know, we need to know. I need to know about.
Let me ask you if I could.
Sure.
Remember, and John, you might have been, maybe you were on the commission back then. Remember the impact assistance that we received? We lobbied for the state to create. We created impact assistance for communities that were impacted by growth, infrastructure. We worked to create housing, water, sewer projects, and that money came from shared wealth around the state to assist those communities, and it was usually mineral-rich. Sweetwater County was a poster child, and a portion of those funds were used for infrastructure and the like. Where is that program? Because what I'm thinking, and this might be craziness, but we're in crazy times. I think the Impact Assistance Fund needs to still occur because those funds could be utilized for the impact associated with once again not keeping up with infrastructure and public services due to the decline in oil and gas. So you see what I'm saying? At one time it was the same thing. We couldn't keep up because of the growth, and so we needed assistance. Now we can't keep up because of the decline, is what I'm saying.
Well, do you think we're talking about what the Industrial Siting Council that morphed into that for large industrial projects, and when there was monies that came back for impacts locally, that then got turned in Industrial Siting Commission, I believe it's called, and they decide now how those monies are distributed for these large industrial projects. When I first was a commissioner, there was monies, and it wasn't much at the time. I think we just agreed to give it to Granger for a Trona improvement out there, one of the Trona plants, and that then changed into the Industrial Siting Commission for distributing impact funds. So I think it's a totally different thing, and then the criteria was based around sales tax, and they are talking about changing that formula.
They are, and Senator, that's another issue. We're our own worst enemy when it comes to legislation, and the industrial siting, the changes. If you keep an eye on that, because down here in Southwest Wyoming, the few projects that we've had to deal with, we get together with each of the affected communities, and we've come up. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, our own Matt McBurnett and Mr. Beckwith have spent numerous hours coming up with a formula that was pretty much adopted for the projects down here, but now they want to change that. And they want to take away more, and they want us to create all those reports and everything else. And I don't know, why do we want to change something that seems to work? It's bizarre to me. And Matt, Rick, I don't know if you have anything to add in on that, on what you see, but I thought the changes were unnecessary. They just caused more burden on the communities, the municipalities, the towns. Some of these towns don't even have the ability to, they don't have the staff to come up with the reporting and the like. But these two right here, I can tell you, worked with the Industrial Siding Council and come up with a method, as well as the city of Green River and the county, that was made very good sense, and was adopted as the benchmark for pretty much the couple of projects that we had going on here. So why change it? Why do we want to change it now?
Well, I could give you my cynical answer is, it seems like everybody above someone else in the food chain of money, they always believe, I guess, they're smarter.
Yeah.
And I never forget that philosophy when I was a commissioner, that was, like it or not, it goes back to the decisions made here locally are always best. You can't outmanage people. I mean, and you can't stop bad decisions. Who's to say they're good or bad, really? The elected officials have that control. And I think the state, in their maybe zealous wisdom, wants to, think they can have better control over the money, so someone's not putting a water fountain in downtown.
Yeah.
But frankly, if that's what they want to do, I suppose, and that's their choice. So I'm not of that mind. Please, anyone remind me if I ever start acting that way. But I'm happy to have these decisions made here locally, and over a burdensome reporting system that we have to all comply with really just takes up staff time.
Right.
And
exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'm.
Councilors, Councilman Savage, House Bill 96. Okay, this is the No More Euthanasia by Gas Chamber. As you well know, the city of Rock Springs finally rid ourselves of the gas chamber, and there's a bill that basically says that gas chambers will not be used in the state of Wyoming. We want you to support that bill.
Could you ask the reasons? I mean, I understand what it is. I understand.
Senator, I wouldn't even go there. I've had my name placarded down up and
all
down
right,
the
Mayor,
street.
I'm sorry I even brought it up. I just, we're in support of the also attaching fees to animal ownership for the possible set incarceration of an animal waiting for some determination from the courts. I think that's a hotly debated bill with the ag folks.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot more than I ever knew about it, I know now. And they are going to clean that up because of, frankly, it's overzealous officials who kind of take things their own direction.
Well, I would think, because we all know that the state of Wyoming is run by ag, but House Bill 96 is going to bring a lot of heat, because consider the ranches when you have, well, I can tell you that the gas chamber basically was utilized for feral cats when we really would find a garage that had 20, 30 inbred cats and the like. That's what it was used for. But, they put my picture and little baby puppies underneath it about killing puppies. I don't think our chamber ever once killed a puppy, unless there was some sort of a disease or something like that. A dog was never euthanized in that thing, but it was for cats. So you take the farms and the ranches, that could be a hot topic coming up for you folks.
Well, it's all right. I'm amongst the industrial type of districts, and you're right. Most all of them are involved with the rural area ranching. I don't have an issue with supporting the non-use of a gas chamber for animals. I mean, frankly, I adopted one of those stray cats at the house, and it's our cat that our mouser cat that lives in the garage, and it's getting more friendly, but it's not that friendly.
Yeah, they're never friendly.
There was another issue that came up with CARES Act money that went to ag. And I'm not done with this yet on the Senate floor. And it came up, they wanted to distribute undistributed monies from the first round. And there was an issue with just, describing a loss with ag. And the secondary issue came up with Charlie Scott. Senator Scott wanted to use it for something to do with education. He had some purpose for it, a piece of it. And I brought up the fact, well, what about the folks that are, in a county like mine? I think we deserve something. We deserve something to mitigate the loss of business to our businesses. And consequently, after that, I was hit in the shoulder by the Senate floor leader, and he said to me, "Well, didn't you get enough money?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't think so." I said, ag's not a big thing in Senate District 12, and I think we got to support the people that are the drivers of the economic engine in our state. If we can
Right.
do that, we can support our governments. We can do a lot of things. But if we lose them, what do we have?
Well, and over the last year, we put a lot of time and effort with individuals, especially, the PD, the Fire Department Emergency Management and the like. And we did have a submittal for what we could for wages, and we're still waiting to hear from that. Hopefully that will come through. Before I forget, SJ1 carries that wording from House Bill 12 that takes away the bonding elections from the primaries to a special. So if you would, just take a look at SJ1 and make sure that if 12 is to be defeated, we need to be careful that SJ1, we have our eyes on that so that wording doesn't carry on. Councilors, any other?
I had just a question on
Councilman
update
Zadi?
general, and I think more for the general public on HB 56 public health orders. Where do you feel that stands? As any one of you, as far as?
Well, I'm for improving the process. I think we have to have other elected officials involved. I think you should certainly have the ability to grant an emergency, for an X amount of period of time, whatever that may be. But beyond that, I think we have to have a more broad discussion. I think the feeling is just we're having people, the bureaucratic folks, depends what department we're talking about, but they're making these decisions, and frankly, that's the way it is. So I think we have to have a broader representation of people, a mix. It won't just be one group. From what I know, it's going to be mixed. There's probably going to have a high likelihood it'll come out of the Senate. I don't know what the House is going to do. Probably, the House members have a better idea than I do on that. I think there's a feeling of overreach, and I think we had an opportunity, or we have a situation now that demands it to be looked at. Change it or not change it, it demands it to be re-reviewed, just because of this COVID-19 is, put us all in a new world. And so I don't know if I dodged the question, but I'm in favor of a change. It shouldn't be a sweeping change where it just all goes to elected officials, let's say, but I think it has to be a better mix than we have right now. And I guess I've taken probably too much time. If Representative Banks, I think, if he wants to talk, or I'm happy to stand and take any questions. And everybody here should be.
No, I think communication is really key in what you folks are going through right now, and you're exactly right. I think you hit the nail on the head. Things are happening so fast when you're down there on the floor. That was my biggest fear going in there. I mentioned that before session started. It's going to be extremely hard to lobby and get this information to these guys because they're going to be in a virtual session, in a meeting. You could have 2 readings in a day. Next thing you know, and it's happened, I've made contact and oh no, that bill passed yesterday, or it failed. That ship has sailed, and that's what's frustrating about this. So right now, communication is key. If you generally know, and you do because you live here, if you generally know how we feel or how it affects our community, sometimes you have to roll with what you feel is right if you haven't heard from us, but we'll do our best to reach out. I know I have Chad Clark and you on speed dial now. We'll try to maintain communication.
And on top of that, Mayor and Council, they required us to have 24-hour notice for an amendment. Now, you got to realize what this means. You don't have 24 hours from the end of the day to the next day.
Right.
So technically speaking, we couldn't even make that. Then it's a staffing issue again. But so if there's something that comes up on the first reading committee of the whole, from my current understanding of things, I need to hear immediately from that, because a second reading we can amend. But as soon as it goes to third, I better have a real compelling reason that no one else thought about, which probably doesn't happen very often. So it's really hard. So my suggestion is we try to get an amendment on the second reading.
Second reading.
It's too late for the committee of the whole, unless you folks got in contact, say with me, and it's a Senate issue. Then I can possibly I have to submit my amendment to the LSO office, Legislative Services Office. They have to then write said amendment up, and it has to be properly documented to be introduced. So it isn't like back in the good old days when I was a commissioner, you could just kind of wing it. You can do a lot of things quickly, but not in the Senate, at least not with our floor rules, just to kind of help out everybody with, what my challenge is on trying to introduce a change.
Okay, any other questions for Senator Kolb? Representative Banks, I don't know if we scared you to death and run you out of here yet, but probably some of the same questions, but anything you have to offer for the group, whether it be how to contact you or what your thoughts are on the House side, what works best for you, and what are you seeing that you feel we should be concerned with?
I won't take a lot of your time. I had written down the Senate Joint Resolution 01, which is the one that you mentioned. I don't know if, Senator Kolb would have a better idea if that's going anywhere, but it's brought by one of our own representatives from Sweetwater County, so I would, I would get in touch with him particularly.
Appreciate that.
I think we have a duty also to communicate with you, especially since that session is so compressed. Like if we see things coming up, I'll text you all and let you know, or email, and I'm sure that Representative Stith and Senator Kolb will do the same. I would, the only thing I would mention is that right off the bat on the House side, there are 18 no's straight off the bat. So when we're looking at revenues, which I think is an area we really need to look at. We can only cut so far, and there has to be some offset of some revenues at some point. But there are 18 no's right off the bat for anything, just about any bill that's on there. And so there's a real uphill battle. And Representative Stith could probably address that better since he's been there longer, but that's my take, is that 18 is a tough hill to climb. And I think you all have my cell number, 389-3310. Obviously, my email is Chad. We're underscore, right? So chad.banks@yoledge.gov. And I have access to both those all the time, so.
Well, I'll just reiterate to Representative Banks, the biggest thing that I can see right now is take a look at the list of exemptions on sales tax. In my opinion, you can say what you want, and we can agree or disagree. I don't see that is a new tax, and I think easily you can see some of those entities were taxed at one time, specifically, say, food tax. So it's not a new tax, it's that they were eventually exempt from that tax. So.
And Representative Stith is bringing forward, I don't know the number, one to remove the exemptions for data centers, about 8 million. But I don't think there is at least presently anything for the food tax, but it doesn't mean it couldn't be introduced at some point.
Well, I think it should be, let's lead. Let's get out there and bring that back. The remember, John, Senator Kolb, the county block allocation, the consensus money that we used to receive, used to gather us about one project a year, would be extremely helpful as we're trying to keep up with infrastructure after having to come up with $6 million towards the Interchange Road project. But that money went away. Where did that money go? What occurred in the county block allocation funds? It's just like randomly the revenues disappear. I'm not quite sure, but it would be nice to see that come back. That would be a second source of revenue that was lost that doesn't help our community in any way, shape, or form. Councilors, any comments for Representative Banks?
Your Honor,
Mr. McBurnett?
just like to clarify some points. I know council's directed us in the past to look a little closer at the language in the for the municipal option sales tax. I just want to clarify. City Attorney Beckwith and I did look at that today, and our understanding reading the statute is that you do have to decide on the 6 penny first before anything can be pursued for the optional tax. Now, you can use it for general purpose or specific, but that 6 penny has to be decided first before anything can move forward.
Win or lose, right?
Well, I mean, if the county decides not to pursue the 6 penny, they can pass a resolution as long as 50% of the entities within the county agree that they don't want to pursue the 6 penny tax and allow us to go for the municipal option, which would become the 6 penny in that case. So it is possible.
It is
our
not. It is
understanding.
not possible. If you if
Right.
you know where we are, what we're doing, that would never occur.
Yeah, that's what I fear. They'll both die.
Mayor and council, I think,
that
I think Matt is saying it's possible theoretically.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Theoretically it is, but reality is, it is not. We probably would be the only ones, well, we were. I believe we were the only ones that opted out last time. So, go ahead, I'm sorry, Matt.
Oh, that's okay. And I can reach out to some of the other, some of my counterparts at some of the cities to see if they're moving forward on the municipal option. While we're talking, I did pull up the master sales tax list from the Department of Revenue. Currently, they don't even have a column that states municipal option tax, so I don't, if anyone's in the process of pursuing, I don't know, but nobody currently has it intact. I know Goshen County does have the 0.25% for economic development that we've been allowed to get for a number of years, but I think they're at 5.25%. I don't think they have the specific purpose right now. I didn't know if you had any questions for me on the municipal option or City Attorney Beckwith on that.
Councilman West?
From our reading.
You said if we went after that, it'd be looking at 2024 rather than 2022?
2024, which means we would generate, if approved, we would start seeing the generation of those funds 2025. So it's down the road.
Yeah, Your Honor, that's what we were reading, that it has to be at a general election, the way the statute's written, that it has to, that has to be a vote at the general election for your initial.
Yeah.
Why not 2022?
Right.
Because we have to decide on the 6
The 6
penny
penny has
first.
to, we have to
Yeah,
decide
I mean,
that
so if, I
first.
mean, it's feasible, it's not gonna happen, they're gonna wanna go for the 6. Is there something that can be changed in the legislative side that you don't have to go to that 6 cent? I mean, to me, it's bizarre that it's set up that way, that we have to go to a special purpose tax first and then to,
Yeah.
Your Honor,
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, yeah, thank you. As that was House Bill 47 from last year, became House Enrolled Act 70, providing for the municipal tax. In theory, if the county commissioners were to authorize a resolution consenting to the city of Rock Springs, asking for the municipal tax to be put on the 2022 ballot, you could do that, and you could start collecting it in January of 2023. However, if the county commissioners don't want to do that, then they can just say no and say, no thanks, we'll go for our own 6th penny. And that's where your problem is, which is why it may not be realistic to generate any revenue by January 2023 with the municipal sale tax. Why it's written that way is yeah, it was an ugly process to watch last year, how that bill happened. Let me just say that. I want to thank you all just for your patience tonight, and we want to be listening to you all, and keep us informed. Just my picks, I think House Bill 96 is likely going to pass. House Bill 37 on the road usage, I just would not give that good odds this session. I don't think that's going to make it. as you can tell, there's some tension between the House and the Senate on the distributions to the local cities, counties, and towns. I think the House is going to be in favor of giving a little bit more to the cities, cutting less, and I think the Senate's going to be wanting to cut more, so we'll see how it shakes out. So, but thank you so much.
Senator Kolb's going to, he's going to shape them up over there, I'm thinking.
Just probably a little clarification, I think, what I know with the county commission and why the commission would have an option to allow, say, a 6 cent in this case. The thought always, there was always an issue with certain districts that they had a lot of money in reserves. I mean, $100 million. And they wanted to have some control over those districts from just taxing more and more and more and more. So the commission wanted to say so in it. I think that's the reason why it's worded in that funny way. I think, you know, for this purpose, it's, you know, not appropriate. But I think that's the background. If it helps out, there was some, you know, it's, as I learned as a commissioner, everybody has a different situation, you know, in their locality. They have different districts, they have different cities, towns, such. So for us, it doesn't really make any difference, I don't think. You know, it's really kind of unneeded. I think if the Board of County Commissioners wants to approve a ballot issue for a 6 cent, you know, I think that's a good thing to approach them with. You know, because the issue is we're all in a bad way. So if that helps out why it's worded in that strange way, that's my background information on that. So,
Appreciate that.
thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Senator. Matt, did you have something?
Your Honor, I was just going to say, I did speak with, when they were first debating this issue with the Revenue Committee, it was in the meeting was in Pinedale, and I did make it up there and was able to testify. I did have discussions with Dave Frazier, who's the director of WAM, and he had told me that the Revenue Committee had asked the county and the association and WAM to work together on that issue. And so that was the compromise they came up with, because the county was worried about the municipal option tax basically killing the 6 penny tax,
Yeah.
especially in the counties like Laramie County, where Cheyenne's really the only player in that whole thing. So I think it was a compromise between the two associations, since they were asked to work together, is how I understand how that went.
Thanks for the information. Representative Banks, Representative Stitt, Senator Kolb, we appreciate the time you've taken here. It helps us to have a little one-on-one time, and by all means, communication. And if there's something that comes up, reach out to one of us. We'll do the same. Try to get through this session and get through this crazy times and maybe back to a normal situation. But all we can do is do what we can to increase the revenues, increase business, do what we can to survive right now. Senator?
Mayor and Council, is there anybody you want me to communicate with? Is there a preferred method of communication?
You know, I email you, but you've been communicating with Council President Zotti, so he's been disseminating information back and forth. So if something comes up, he can send out a mass email or text message. One way or another, if you guys want to stay in communication,
Yeah.
we can all communicate that
Yeah,
way.
Mayor and Council, however you want to do it. You know, just tell me so I know.
Yeah.
Your procedure, if there is one. If there's not, I guess we just wing it and go forward. But
I'd say let's don't wing it. Let's use the
Let's ju-
council.
well-
We're beyond winging it. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, no, that's anything that we've discussed and that I've sent right away and tried to get some feedback from others and that, and
Okay.
so we can continue to do that.
as long as we get, you know,
There's gonna be some redundancy, I'm sure, because I'm sending emails as well and calling you guys when I can. But if you guys would be the main contact and Rob can disseminate that information to the council, that works.
that's okay. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time tonight. Okay, with that, councilors, I would entertain a motion to approve the council committee and board reports, including the update, and put them on file.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let's move on to the bills and claims section of our agenda. Counselors, item number 1 is the bills and claims for February 16th, 2021. I'd entertain a motion to approve the bills and claims.
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus.
I make a motion to approve the bills and claims for February 16th, 2021.
Council, we do have a motion to approve the bills and claims for February 16th, 2021. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item number 2, the salaries for February 8th, 2021.
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus.
I make a motion to approve the salaries for February 8th, 2021.
We have a motion to approve the salaries for February 8th, 2021. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this can bring us down to new business. Councilman, item number 1, due to the public hearing request being withdrawn, this now will be withdrawn. Item number 2 is a request from the Administrative Services Department for approval of a renewable application for microbrewery, winery, restaurant, retail, limited bar, and grill and resort liquor licenses, but it will exclude and be an exception of the above Gang Tai Dong LLC because they have withdrawn and they are on this list. So, councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor.
Councilman Batolo,
So moved.
we do have a motion to approve this item. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Let the record show. Item number 3, the request from Engineering and Operations and Public Services for permission to fill a vacant lab tech position at the Water Reclamation Facility. Council, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus.
I make a motion to approve this request.
We do have a motion to approve this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Let the record show. And this is going to bring us to item number 4, the request from the Rock Springs Liquor Dealers Association for approval of the 2021 all-night dates. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus.
I make a motion to approve this request.
We have a motion to approve this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? And item number 5, the request from Lou's Incorporated for a liquor catering permit for the Doak Wedding Reception on March 13th, 2021 from 2 p.m. to midnight at the Bunning Freight Station. Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West.
move to approve this request.
We do have a motion to approve this request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's going to bring us on to our resolutions, of which we have 7, starting with item number 1, Resolution 2021-23.
A resolution approving local financial institutions to be designated as depositories for public funds.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Savage.
I move to approve Resolution 2021-23.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-23. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 2, Resolution 2021-24.
A resolution accepting and approving a National Museum of the United States Air Force Community Static Display Loan Program 2021 Loan Agreement SDA 0335 with the United States of America, represented by the National Museum of the United States Air Force and the City of Rock Springs, and authorizing and directing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to execute said loan agreement on behalf of the city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Savage.
I move to approve Resolution 2021-24.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-24. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second has been called. Roll call.
Counselor Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Yes.
West, Batolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 3, Resolution 2021-25.
A resolution accepting and approving a contract with Brian Wishneff and Associates, a Virginia limited liability company, to serve as consultants for the purpose of obtaining and managing historical tax credits to be used by the City of Rock Springs for the renovation of the First Security Bank building, and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the City of Rock Springs to execute said agreement on behalf of said city.
Council, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-25.
Councilors, we do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-25. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 4, Resolution 2021-26.
A resolution accepting and approving an agreement with Union Pacific Railroad to recommend the sale for real property to the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to its property managers, and accepting and approving a form of quitclaim deed from the UP for said property, and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the City of Rock Springs to execute said agreement and said form of quitclaim deed on behalf of said city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West?
move to approve Resolution 2021-26.
Council, we do have a motion to approve 2021-26. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
I'm going to abstain from this as we help the engineer with some legal work on the description. Item number 5, Resolution 2021-27.
A resolution accepting and approving a highway safety program federal fiscal year 2021 sub-award agreement between the Wyoming Department of Transportation Highway Safety Program and the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to execute said agreement on behalf of the city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Savage?
I move to approve Resolution 2021-27.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-27. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Item number 6, Resolution 2021-28.
A resolution accepting and approving a highway safety program federal fiscal year 2021 sub-award agreement between the Wyoming Department of Transportation Highway Safety Program and the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, to execute said agreement on behalf of the city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman Savage?
I move to approve Resolution 2021-28.
You're just a workhorse tonight.
He's
We have a
hungry.
motion to approve Resolution 2021-28. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Hickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Batolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. And item number 7, Resolution 2021-29.
A resolution accepting and approving an SAAS services agreement with Governance Sciences Group, Inc., and authorizing Timothy A. Como as mayor of the city of Rock Springs, Wyoming, and Matthew L. McBurnett as city clerk of the city of Rock Springs to execute said agreement on behalf of said city.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Demus?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-29.
We do have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-29. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor West,
No.
Batolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Councilors, that brings us to the ordinances portion of our agenda, of which we have one ordinance on third reading, ordinance 2021-01.
An ordinance amending Article 7-1 entitled Building Code of the Ordinances of the City of Rock Springs, Wyoming, whereas the governing body of the City of Rock Springs desires to modify Article 7-1 entitled Building Code, Section 7, 108.4 of the ordinances of the City of Rock Springs.
Councilors, what's your pleasure?
Your Honor,
Councilman West?
move to approve ordinance 2021-01.
We do have a motion to approve ordinance 2021-01. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been called. Roll call.
Counselor Batolo,
Yes.
Halter,
Yes.
Zadi,
Yes.
Demus,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Savage,
Yes.
Hickerson,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Mayor Como.
Yes. Council and to the general public, one announcement, maybe on a more happier note than what we really get to deal with. We are very, very close to the opening date for the Children's Museum at the library. I'd like to give Jana Pastor and everybody who helped, and there were many, a thank you for the work that they've done to make this happen. So watch for the upcoming notices for the opening date. It should be coming out to advertisements and social media soon. And with no further business to come before the city council, this meeting is adjourned.